Hi, all my students, Standard 9. Hope you are doing well. And without much ado, let's start straight off with our text. We have completed Act 1, Scene 2, and today we are going to start with Act 1, Scene 3. So, shall we start? I hope you are ready with your books. Act 1, Scene 3 is known as the scene of the storm. It is called the storm scene. We'll begin with reading the synopsis. This scene takes place on a street in Rome before the Ides of March. Now, what are the Ides of March? 15th of March. Now, this is on the eve before the Ides of March. That means it has taken place on the 14th evening. Okay. During the wild night, thunder, lightning, and other omens occur. Cicero, Casca, and Cassius meet. Casca and Cassius fear that some unknown evil is about to take place. Please mark these words. Cassius tells Casca that there is a plot to overthrow Caesar and invites him to take part in the conspiracy. When Cinna joins them, we learn that the plot is already well advanced. Okay, so now we'll start. There's nothing to explain in this. It's very clear. So we'll start. Scene 3 takes place in Rome, a street. Thunder and lightning enter from the opposite sides of the stage. Casca with his sword drawn and Cicero. Cicero, good even, Casca. Even means evening. Good evening, Casca. Brought you Caesar home? That means, did you accompany Caesar to his house? Did you go to his house? Why are you so breathless? And why do you stare so? So he's saying, what makes you so breathless and what are you staring at? What is it? Because Casca has got a terrifying look on his face. Okay, Casca. He's terror struck. He says, are not you moved when all the sway of the earth shakes like a thing unfirm? So he's saying, you are not moved, Cicero? The entire earth, which is supposed to be such a strong and stable thing, the entire earth, the steady earth, is trembling like something without a firm solid base to stand on. Does not that trouble you? Are you not troubled with that? O Cicero, I have seen tempests. Now Casca is talking to Cicero and he's telling him, I have seen tempests. Means I have seen a lot many storms. It's not that I'm seeing this storm for the first time. I've seen a lot many storms when the scolding winds, means when the harsh winds have rived the knotty oaks. Rived means torn apart those oaks whose branches have been tied. So when these harsh winds have blown, they have untied those knotty oaks whose branches were tied up. So he's saying they have been torn apart. And I have seen the ambitious ocean swell and rage and foam. That means I have seen the ambitious ocean because of the storm. It's as if the ocean became ambitious and the waters of the oceans were rising high. The waves were rising high as if to touch the skies. He's saying I have seen such great storms to be exalted with the threatening clouds. But never till tonight, never till now did I go through a tempest dropping fire. Means I have never seen a storm where the tempest or where the storm or where the oceans, where the waves of the oceans are so high and at the same time it is dropping storm. That means there is a lot of thunder and lightning and everything that is happening. Either, so he's saying I'm really terrified. Now he's giving his explanation. He's saying either there is a civil strife in heaven. That means either there is a war amongst the gods. The gods are fighting amongst themselves. So there is a civil strife in heaven, or else. That is one thing that could be the reason for this disastrous storm. Or the other reason that could be is else the world too saucy with the gods. Saucy with the gods means too ill-behaved. So people of the earth, they don't know how to behave with the gods, and therefore the gods are very angry, and therefore they have sent such a dangerous storm which I've never seen in my whole life. So, or else the world, too saucy with the gods, incenses them to send destruction. Incenses means angers them. So he has given two reasons for this particular strong storm. I hope you got both the reasons. First one is either there is a civil strife amongst the gods, or that because the people of the world are very saucy, very arrogant, very ill behaved with the gods, and gods are so angry that they have sent this strife on earth, this storm on earth. Okay. Now Cicero, why? Saw you something more wonderful? More wonderful means something more dangerous. Did you see something of that sort? So he's saying a common slave. Now he's telling what he saw. He's saying, I saw a common slave, means a common person. I saw a common slave. You know him well by sight, means if you look at him, you come to know that he's a common slave. Held up his left hand, which did flame and burned. So his entire left hand was burning, and the left hand was burning, not that he held up something. His hand was burning, held up his left hand, which did flame and burned like 20 torches joined. So his entire hand was burning as if there were 20 torches in his hand, and the whole hand was burning. So like 20 torches joined, and yet his hand not sensible of fire, means his hand was not sensible of the fire. He didn't feel the fire in his hand, even though his entire hand was burning. Remained unscorched. So his hand was unscorched. Besides, I have not since put up my sword. He's saying, after seeing this sight of this common slave and his entire hand burning, I have not put down my sword. Like as if Casca is out to destroy everything with his sword. His sword is waving in the air. You can imagine the scene. His sword is waving, and there's a lot of thunder and lightning and flash, 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 everything. Just imagine the scene. And what is the day? It's on the eve of the Ides of March. So just the night before the 15th of March. I have not seen since put up my sword. Against the capital I met a lion. He's saying, now not only so much, while I was going towards the capital, I saw a lion. I met a lion. And this lion glazed upon me, means he stared at me and went surly by. He went by arrogantly. He just looked at me, he stared at me, and he went arrogantly away without annoying me. He's saying he didn't do anything to me. He just looked at me, he stared at me, and he just walked off. Okay, and there were drawn upon a heap of 100 ghastly women. So there were hundreds of women. Ghastly means they were scared. Ghastly means they had become white because of fear. So these ghastly women, transformed with fear, who swore that they saw men all in fire walk up and down the streets. And these women, why were they so scared? They were so scared because they were swearing that they saw men, and the entire body of their men was up in fire, up in flames, and yet they were walking up and down the streets. Okay, so they were walking up and down upon the marketplace. Up and down the streets. Then yesterday, the bird of the night. Who is the bird of the night? The owl. Okay. So he's saying, I saw the owl did sit even at noonday upon the marketplace. Now, if he's a bird of the night, then he's supposed to come out only in the night. But he's saying in the afternoon, I saw this bird of the night. That is, I saw these owls sitting upon the marketplace. Means they were sitting in the marketplace, hooting and shrieking. Now that is a bad omen. Okay, it's a bad sign. It's an evil sign. If you hear in the afternoon, the night of the bird of the night hooting and shrieking, the Romans said it was an evil omen. So they didn't like it. When these prodigies are unnatural events, something which is not natural, which is out of the normal course. So he's saying, when these prodigies do so conjointly meet, let not men say these are their reasons and they are natural. He's saying when such things happen, when such events occur, men should not say that these are natural things and such events just keep happening. It's not like that. It is something unnatural. And it is something, for I believe that they are portentous things. Portentous things means they are prophesizing something. They are predictions. Predictions by whom? Predictions by the gods. So the gods are predicting. And what are they predicting? Unto the climate that they point upon. And this prediction is joined to the country, upon the country to which they are directed. That is what he is saying. So he's saying these are predictions. Please, you must not take it as something which is very natural and which is just happening in the normal course of business. It's not so. Cicero. Indeed, it is a strange disposed time. So Cicero is saying, yeah, I agree with you. It is really something very strange, and this should not be happening. But men may construe things, explain. So men may explain things, construe things after their fashion, means in their own way. So everybody, whoever is seeing this stormy night and all that, they may explain things according to their intellect, according to what they think is right. You may not express the same thing as what your friend thinks. You may have a different explanation. I may have a different explanation. We all have different explanations. Clean from the purpose of the things themselves. Clean from the purpose means contrary, exactly opposite than what those things actually mean to tell us. So he's saying people interpret things according to their mentality and according to their mindset. So each person has their own mindset. So you cannot judge anybody that this is right, what he's saying is right, what he's saying is wrong. It's not like that. Who's saying this? Cicero. Cicero believes that everybody explains things according to their mindset. Come Caesar to the capital tomorrow? Now he's asking Casca. He's come down to the present time from the unnatural events that are taking place, and he's asking Cicero, he's asking Casca, come Cicero to the capital tomorrow? So he's asking, is Caesar going to come to the capital tomorrow? Tomorrow is the Ides of March. Casca, he doth. For he did bid Antonius send word to you that he would be there tomorrow. He's saying, yes, Caesar is coming to the Capitol tomorrow, because I heard him telling Antonius, that means Mark Antony, that Mark Antony should give you word, means Mark Antony should inform you that Caesar is going to come to the Capitol tomorrow. Now what does this show? This shows that Cicero was one of the respected people of Rome. Otherwise, Cicero was one of the respected people of Rome. Otherwise, Caesar would not tell Mark Antony to inform Cicero that he is going to be present at the Capitol. So it just shows that Cicero is a man of great respect in Rome. Cicero. Good night then, Casca. This disturbed sky is not to walk in. So Cicero is telling Casca, okay, good night. And now I think we should go to our own homes, because a night like this, you should not be roaming out on the streets. Cicero. Good night then, Casca. This disturbed sky is not to walk in. Casca. Farewell, Cicero. Exit Cicero, enter Cassius. So Cicero leaves and Cassius enters. Who's there? Casca. A Roman. Cassius. Casca, by your voice. So Cassius has recognized his voice. Your ear is good, Cassius. What night is this? Now Casca is still terrified. So he's saying, you have a good ear because you recognize me from my voice. So he's saying, what night is this? Cassius. A very pleasing night to honest people. So he's saying, Cassius is saying, this night is a very, very pleasing night to those men who have a clear conscience. Okay? And it's, who's saying this? Cassius is saying that if you have a clear conscience, then this night has to be a pleasing night to you. We'll see further why he calls this night as a pleasing night. Now Casca. Whoever knew the heavens menaced so? He's saying, when have I known that the heavens have menaced so much? When did when was there such a terrific storm? When was there so much of thunder and lightning? So when did the heavens menace so? Cassius. Those that have known the earth so full of faults. For mind fault means those who have known that the earth is full of faults will know that heavens can menace so. So what he's trying to tell Casca is that first of all, he says this is a night which is pleasing to those men with a clear conscience, and then he sort of just mentions indirectly, he says that the heavens are showing their displeasure to the earth so full of faults. That means to those people on earth, where the people on earth are annoying the gods, where people of earth are not following what the gods would want them to do. He's saying in those circumstances, such things could happen. So that is the meaning of the earth so full of faults. Means the gods are showing their displeasure towards the action of the people living on the earth, which they find are not correct, which are actions of mistake. For my part, I have walked about the streets, submitting me unto the perilous night. Perilous means dangerous. He's saying, I have walked on these streets on this perilous night, and what have I done? And thus unbraced. Casca, you see. Unbraced means with his doublet unfastened. He's saying, my doublet is unfastened. Okay, you have that button over here on the coat. He has unfastened it. Now this is again an example of anachronism. The Romans never used this type of wear. When this was, but Shakespeare's time, the Elizabethan people, the Elizabethan audience who was watching, they used to have these doublets fastened and everything. They used to wear these coats and all. So this is an example of anachronism again. Okay. So, and thus unbraced, Casca, you see, have bared my bosom to the thunderstorm. So he's saying, I have opened up my coat and I have bared my bosom to the thunderstorm, that come, hit me if you want. That is what he's saying. Okay. And when the cross blue lightning means he's used an adjective for the lightning, that the lightning is blue in color, cross blue. Okay. Cross means zigzag. Not going in a straight line, but the lightning is going zigzag, tada, that way. Okay, seemed to open the breast of heaven. I did present myself even in the aim and the very flash of it. He's saying when the lightning went zigzag and it sort of opened the breast of the earth, I presented myself to tell it that come, hit me, I am not scared. So we find Casca saying that why did you do such a thing? It is a part of men to fear and tremble. So Casca here is saying that it is a part of men to fear and tremble. Why do you have to do such a thing? And what are you trying to prove to the gods, that you are more stronger? When the mighty most gods by token send their dreadful heralds to astonish at. Cassius, you are dull, Casca, and those sparks of life that should be in a Roman you do want. So he's saying, Casca, you are a dull person, and that spark, that activity which should be there in a Roman, you don't have that in you, or else you use not. You look pale and gaze, and you put on fear and cast yourself in wonder to see the strange impatience of the heavens. He's saying, what is there to be so amazed with? To see the strange impatience of the heavens. But if you would consider the true cause, why all these fires, why all these gliding ghosts, why birds and beasts from quality and kind, why old men, fools, children calculate, why all these things change from their ordinances, normal behavior. That means why is everything changing from their normal behavior? If you would just give it a thought that why such unnatural events are happening, all these are examples of the unnatural events that are happening. He's saying just give it a thought why such things are happening. Then their natures and preformed faculties to the monstrous quality, why you shall find that heaven hath infused them with these spirits to make them instruments of fear and warning unto some monstrous state. So here he is telling, Cassius is now telling Casca that you are a dull person. You don't seem to understand anything. The problem is, give it a thought as to why such unnatural events are happening. Why do you see all these fires? Why do you see all these gliding ghosts? Why are all the birds and beasts, why are they not according to the natural nature? And why are they changing? What is the reason? If you can just understand this, give it a thought. Why you will realize that the heavens have done such a thing, the heavens are doing such a thing because the heavens want to sort of send a sign or inform the people, that the people of the earth, that about some fear and they are trying to warn them, on the people on the earth, that you are doing something wrong. You are doing something which is not in accordance with the natural events. That is what Cassius is saying. Now, children, if you see here, Cassius is not very sure still about Casca, whether Casca will join them as a conspirator or not. He is not very sure about his attitude. So he is trying to sort of gauge him. He is trying to judge him whether Casca will come on the side of the conspirators or he will not come. So he is saying, now could I, Casca, name to thee a man. So now he is slowly coming towards blaming Caesar. And what is he saying? Could I name to thee a man most like this dreadful night? So he's saying, can I just name one person to you, a man who is as dreadful as this night is? Okay, that thunders, lightens, opens graves, and roars as doth the lion in the Capitol. A man who is no mightier than myself or thyself or me. So this man is actually not mightier than you or me, but still he thunders and lightens and opens graves and he roars like this lion. In personal action, yet prodigious grown. So he has become very important and fearful as these strange eruptions are. So he has compared the storm to Caesar without naming Caesar. Please mark, he has not named Caesar. So Casca is naming Caesar, and Casca is saying, it is Caesar that you mean. Is it not, Cassius? So Casca is asking him that you mean Caesar, isn't it? Let it be who it is. Still he is not telling him. Please make a note over here that Cassius does not take Caesar's name because he is not sure yet of Casca's role, whether he will join as a conspirator or no. So he will not be able to declare Caesar's name to him directly still. So Cassius, let it be who it is. For Romans now so he's saying, let it be whoever the name of the person is. It's immaterial. But I do want to tell you one thing, that now the Romans, they have lost their thews and limbs like their ancestors. Means the Romans are no more like their ancestors. They have lost their thews and thews, means muscles and limbs. They have become weak people. But woe the while our fathers' minds are dead. Means our fathers who had such strong minds, the Romans ancestors who had such strong minds, the present Romans do not have these strong minds in themselves, and they are governed. We are governed with our mother spirits. Now normally it is supposed that women are more given into they are more humble, they are a little more fragile, and they will not, they can be moved around with feelings and emotions. So Cassius is saying we have become more like our mothers, who are easily swayed by emotions, who are easily carried away, who don't think with their minds, but they are rather controlled with their hearts. So they have lost the strength of their hands and feet. So we are governed with our mother spirits. Our yoke and sufferings show us womanish. Okay, we are talking about the Elizabethan period, and he is describing the Roman period. You can see the meaning given to you over there. It is line number 84. Line number 84. Yoke and sufferings. Now what it means over here. Please add this one line. The way the Romans patiently endure their yoke of suffering. The way the Romans patiently endure their yoke of suffering shows that they have, the way the Romans patiently endure their yoke of suffering shows they have become effeminate. Means they have become female-like. Okay, slavery and the way we bear it. That is the meaning of this line. Okay, Casca. Indeed, They say the senators tomorrow mean to establish Caesar as a king. So he's saying, yes, I agree with you. And one more thing, Cassius, they say that the senators tomorrow, they are going to crown Caesar as the king. So he is asking Cassius that they are saying that Caesar is going to be crowned as the king tomorrow, and he shall wear the crown by sea and land. Means he is going to rule over the sea and land in every place, save here in Italy. Now, why does he say save here in Italy? Because what he's trying to say is that in every place they will crown Caesar as the king, and he will rule everywhere, on land and on sea and everywhere, except in Rome. Why will he not be here in Rome? Because Rome will continue to be a republic. So that is the reason he is saying that in every place, save here in Italy. So in all other places, he will be considered to be a king, except in Italy. Now children, I will give you the meaning, but before I give you, I want you all to read what is over there. In the next line. See line number, I don't know which line it is. This line that we are reading. The Romans feared dictators, and although they were prepared to let Caesar rule the Roman Empire, they refused to give him absolute power at home in Rome. So they didn't want to give him absolute power in Rome. Who? The senators. They preferred the republic. Okay. Now there is a reason why they are giving him absolute power elsewhere, which I will discuss in the next module, so that you are able to digest this much. So please learn what we have read today and the reasons, and the night of the storm. The night of the storm is extremely important because it's an absolute description of what exactly happens. And please remember that this scene takes place in a street in Rome. Okay, and all the sights that they have seen. First of all, the description of the night, then all the various sights which are seen by Casca, the interpretation by Casca, and the interpretation by Cassius. These are two different interpretations, and Cicero's response to the night and what he speaks to Casca. All these things, children, we read the text, no doubt, but we have to try and understand the underlying meanings of it. It is not just plain and simple reading. Otherwise, anybody can just read the text and understand. You have to understand the underlying meanings of all this. So please read all this, and till then, study well and learn everything. And at the next module, I will plunge straight into Cassius's speech. So we'll stop over here. And goodbye, have a good time, study well, study all your subjects, and that's it. So here's Himangi, your English facilitator, signing off for the day. Bye everyone.